Hi, welcome to Comic Talk. I'm Josh.
And I'm a figment of your imagination.
This is our monthly review for December. This is where we look back at everything on our pull list and talk about our favorites and some of the things that we didn't like so much for the month. Let's just jump right into here because we got a lot of books to talk about.
We do.
So we're going to talk about Astonishing Ant-Man number 3, Alan, Son of Hellcock number 1. This is a Z2. The Vision number 2.
I got Prez again because it deserves it again. Descender? Not December, but Descender. And I Hate Fairyland number 3.
Cool. So we'll start over here. Because I'm on this side of the screen. This is Astonishing Ant-Man number 3. This is Boyd, Rosanas, and Spencer. So far, this series has really upped the ante for me in terms of
ante.
Yeah, no, Annie.
Ante.
Annie. With an I and an E at the end. No T in there. Up to the ante. Well, in terms of just comedy books at Marvel, I think Marvel's always had a lot of humor in their books, especially with like Spider-Man titles and such.
Sure.
But I feel like this one's really a new high for them in terms of really killing it with some fresh sort of humor. It's not like your normal quippy humor Marvel book. This is something really different.
I think when we discussed this, one of the things that stood out was how it has this sort of fourth wall awareness without being all Deadpool about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that definitely continues to impress me with this book. It's just, it's like a kind of modern sitcom. But when you say modern sitcom, most modern sitcoms suck. So, in my mind, it's what like a modern sitcom should be like.
Yeah, I agree.
Plus, it's superhero stuff too.
Yeah, and
cool.
it's just...
He owns a security company.
Right, it's just so quirky and different. And it's one of those times where actually being in the Marvel Universe helps the book. Like a lot of times I feel like a book being stuck in continuity can really bog down the writing and slow things down, but the way he uses it to his advantage here I think is perfect, and it's part of the humor. Like part of what makes it funny is the fact that this guy is floating around in the same universe as, like in this issue,
Captain America.
You know, Captain America.
Right. Not the Captain.
Not Captain America, Captain America, right.
Yeah.
Which they make sure to make very clear.
Yeah.
Sam Wilson, Captain America.
And I think it's definitely a product of its generation in that way because, you know, there is that online comic community, you know, who will make jokes about things and, you know, all criticize the same things and, you know, get together on stuff. And, you know, this really has a chance to make commentary on that because of that. And it's awesome. You know, it's like there's this own niche brand of comedy within comics now that's a lot stronger than it's ever been. And this just plays to all of that.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty great. It's definitely like a postmodern sort of comedy. It's very cool stuff. And the art's no slouch either, but it's definitely not the focus here. The art is almost intentionally a little bit cheesy, old school Marvel style. It feels like a Marvel book from like 7 or 8 years ago. The heroic age of Marvel kind of look, you know.
It'd be weird if there was like all kind of avant-garde stuff going on.
Right, but it works perfect for the book.
For sure.
Yeah, cool.
I think it might work with a Scotty Young style artwork.
It probably could. Everything works with Scotty Young artwork.
Yeah, so with that beautiful transition, I Hate Fairyland continues to knock it out of the park. Really just in every way, pretty much.
Yeah.
The little side stories that develop within here, the animation, or not the animation style. I always want to say the animation style because it's just such an animated book. Yeah, it's such an
animated book. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can totally actually see this being turned into an animation, like a cartoon.
Adult Swim or something.
Yeah, an Adult Swim cartoon. It would be fantastic for that, but it doesn't need to be. It's just so perfect as a comic.
Yeah.
That it would probably actually lose a little bit in translation. You know, they would have to change it up.
Yeah, which is a bit odd because I would say it draws heavily from those styles.
It certainly does.
So the idea of reverting it back to those grandfatherly styles, like actually losing something at this point, is pretty cool, and I think it speaks to Scotty Young quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting how gruesome and dark this book is, even though on the surface it looks like the least gruesome and dark book on the shelves. Like if you were to walk in, even though like on the cover she's all beat to hell in kind of a Ren and Stimpy sort of way.
I was just about to say Ren and Stimpy.
It still has the vibe, even when you open it and look through it, of being very colorful and fun. And it is colorful and fun, but it's also really just macabre and dark. You know, there's a lot of really dark humor.
Yeah, like dark beyond the gratuitous amount of violence
Right.
that ensues in here.
Right, dark, like psychologically dark. Like very sad things happen to people and very
twisted,
terrible,
weird shit.
awful things. Yeah. There's also, this was the month of the awesome ending, which we will not get into. You just need to read the book. Could mean some big changes for the book already. Issue 3, already some big changes happening probably.
Yeah. Again, Scotty Young just setting up a status quo and then shattering it.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll do it, maybe he won't.
Yeah, maybe it's all just a ruse. The Vision, number 2. This is King and Walta and probably one other guy, Belair. Now this is a book that I was really looking forward to the first issue, and after the first issue now it's one of the things that I most want to read every month. It's just so, again, a lot like Ant-Man. It's in the Marvel Universe, and being in the Marvel Universe helps this book. But it helps it in the exact same way that this is eschewing all of the normal status quos that you would normally get.
I think the real benefit from being in the Marvel Universe for this book is that they don't have to establish as much. Like that's what pisses most people off about a lot of sci-fi-ish type things, is that there's just so many things that they have to establish, you know, like fucking what these lasers are and, you know, how these robots work and everything. And these are already established characters. Like, if you want to figure out, like, what Vision is, like, go fucking read it on Wikipedia or something.
Right.
You know, he's been around forever.
Right.
So this can kind of just pick up from, you know, that status quo already being set and then just tell the story.
Exactly. Yeah, we get to skip all the setup and just go straight to, okay, we can just agree that there's the Vision. He's a robot and he has a robot family and they now live in the suburbs. Like, you don't have to set it up at all. I completely agree. And that's what makes it so immediately impactful, is that you just jump straight into the characters and the story without any need for exposition and setup here. And then we have a guy like Tom King writing, who is really, I think, the next big superstar in comics.
Yeah, he's been impressing us lately, so check him out if you haven't.
He's got this, he's got Grayson, he's got Sheriff of Babylon from Image, which just barely didn't make our top for this month. It very well might next month, because technically we're into January, and
pretty strong.
Issue number 2 was a January issue, so we'll see if that makes it into the cut at the end of January. But he's also done Grayson and the Omega Man, which is a really well-received series. So this guy is...
It's tearing it up, man.
He is tearing it up. He's on both sides of the field. He's at Vertigo, DC, Marvel. I'm waiting to see what he does at Image.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't go to Dark Horse.
He could.
It's career suicide.
But yeah, this is a book that's just really dark and philosophical in a really strange way. It's
very philosophical.
It's one of the things I love most about superheroes. When we get these powerful superheroes like Vision, I think all the best Superman stories are like this, where it's really about these really powerful people trying to fit in and be human, like trying to find their humanity. And that's completely what this is. It's just a robot trying to be a human. It's pretty cool.
For sure. And philosophy behind that, and also just the philosophy of a robot trying to understand people and keep them in a positive light to the best of his abilities.
Yeah, he wants to see the best like he's an optimist robot, which is really cool.
Optimist Prime.
All right. With that being said, let's move on to some more robots.
Yeah, this one is pretty heavily focused around human beings. This is Descender number something. 8. This is only $2.99. This is a solid book for $2.99.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a great book for $2.99.
So this was the issue where we got a lot of exposition on, I guess it's not technically his brother, but Tim 10, the family that originally adopted him.
Right.
Right, so he was his human brother, I guess. This one I really just feel like was a huge step up for the series overall. I mean, we've been reading this for quite a while, and this one just absolutely knocked it out of the park. Like, this is probably my favorite issue of the series.
Yeah, me too.
Period. The artwork was just on point. The past and present stuff, just the way the past is set in, I mean, it's all going to look the same because we're in black and white, but it's set in black and white, and just the kind of watercolory effect in black and white just looks so freaking cool. Like, I don't know why more people don't do stuff like this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The whole book could be like this, and I'd be totally cool with it.
Yeah, and you mentioned that we get a lot of exposition in here, but really what we get mostly is flashback. Like, there is a little bit of expositionary storytelling, but part of what I think makes this work so well is the minimal amount of literal exposition of characters kind of telling what happened.
No, it's exposition through the story.
Right, right. It's not like exposition and dialogue. It's literally just flashbacks of what happened to really fill in the world as it currently is.
Right. Which for longtime Lemire fans, if you've read Sweet Tooth, he did a lot of that with pretty much all of the characters in that book. So if you were a fan of that and you're a fan of his, definitely pick this up.
Yeah, and also, this is a great jumping on point for this series. If you don't want to go back and read the whole thing, this is a great place to jump in because it does start to explain some of the backstory. So you could read this one and understand what's happening in the world and go from here pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, there are some events that happened. I mean, this is issue number 8, so, but you'd probably be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good place to jump in if you don't want to try to go back and grab the trade and you just want to start reading it.
Sure.
Okay, next let's talk about Alan's Son of Hellcock. This is Z2 Publishing, the first issue. And this is one of those that I'm choosing on terms of where this could go. This was not my favorite read. If we're just saying which did you enjoy the most out of, the 20-odd books we read, this would not be in my top 3. There's a couple others, like Sheriff of Babylon, and a couple other things, maybe even Scarlet Witch, that I may have put up there in my top 3. Sure. But this one is on potential, basically.
Yeah, you did that before with Paper Girls.
Oh, yes, I have done this before.
And based on my experience with that, I don't know how I feel about it, man. Because Paper Girls still doesn't really impress me.
Yeah, well, I like Paper Girls. Premise. I like Paper Girls quite a bit. I'm enjoying it. It's not amazing. It's sort of a middle of the road.
Sure.
But I was excited about it, and I understand why other people are excited about it.
Yeah, and this is kind of the same way for me. I mean, I think the premise is really cool, and I think we have a lot of interesting characters in there. I mean, it is the first issue, so I assume issue 2 probably, will kind of come together a little bit better. But
I also think another interesting thing about this that I found out after we shot our episode is that the 2 writers for this are actually TV writers. I don't know if I told you about this or not. The one writer on this is a staff writer for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and the other is a staff writer for VH1. So these guys, although they're new, they're not new to comedy by any means. So I'm excited to see where they can take this as they get their feet wet a little bit more. This is, their first attempt at writing a comic. So I'm excited to see a couple more issues when they really get their flow going and see what they can bring to the table.
Sure. And on that note, I mean, like issue 12 or something, I'm excited to see a year from now where these guys are at.
Yeah,
hopefully they keep doing it for that long.
Yeah, and it's definitely a slow burn here. We're really just getting introduced to the characters. We don't even know what the long-term goal is of this comic yet. So
sure.
I'm excited for its future. I think it could turn out to be something really cool. It could end up just continuing to be a middle-of-the-road book, but I think it's worth checking out. and I think it's worth telling you guys to check out, simply because I'd like to see more sales for this, so they keep making it, because it's definitely different and interesting compared to, you know, a lot of the normal fare that we read. So.
Sure. All right, last topic for the month is going to be Prez. This one, it's been, I think, probably my most consistent top pick since we started doing this. And really, this issue didn't let me down. I mean, every issue that's come out of this has somehow topped the last one with its relevance and commentary and just wittiness. It's incredibly witty. It's almost painfully witty in some spots.
For me, this series has grown on me over time. If you remember the first few issues, I wasn't in love with it. I thought it was a little over the top and a little cliche, both kind of in the wrong direction.
Sure.
But now I feel like they've pushed it even further. Like, they've gone so far now that it's come out the other side to me. And now I feel like I understand. When you first start reading a title, it's hard to know if what you're laughing at is what they want you to laugh at, or if you're laughing at them. And so I was iffy at first if I was laughing at their writing or if they were in on the joke with me in it. It turns out they're definitely in on the joke. It's a farce.
And speaking of over top, this is I think that's kind of the point, is that a lot of these things are over the top. But there are also things that are mixed in that are real life, you know? And I think just the idea of that setting where you can take these totally over the top, hyperbolic, you know, everything, and then put in things that are actually happening and have that be part of that world, it's genius.
Yeah, I think so. Another thing to say about this book is it's an exceptionally good monthly read. Some books work really well in, you read it and you think, man, I can't wait for this to be a trade, or I can't wait to get to issue 7 or 8 so that I can look back and feel the whole story happen. Descender's a book like that, where you read the issue and you're just setting yourself up for the next one. But this one really delivers with each issue its own thing. It'll be good in trade still if you haven't read it. You know, it'll be great in trade, but it's one of those that's really great to read each month as a single issue, in your pull list.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm right, they're taking a break after this issue for a little bit.
This is it. They're going to do 6 more later this year.
Yeah. So, I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, I will too. Strange place to end, but I kind of see how it's a good spot. She wins on a victory. You know what I mean? We leave on a win for her, and we get these 2 characters that we've been following coming together as well. So,
for sure,
the next 6 should be pretty cool.
I'm excited for them.
Me too. All right, so that brings us to the part of the episode where we start talking about some things that either we didn't like or maybe we were split. I think on 2 of these were split down the middle. You liked, I didn't so much, and the other way around.
Sure.
And the third one is the one we'll actually start with, so I guess it's the first one. The first one here that we were just kind of on is Last Gang in Town. This is Oliver Dayglow and Brusco. Yeah, Dayglow and Brusco. This is Vertigo. Vertigo's coming back around. They're trying to get that up and going again. DC's trying to battle the whole Image thing, which we've talked about in one of our Talks Comics episodes, about how Image is kind of taking over DC's market share in a lot of ways over the last few years.
Right.
So they're doing this Vertigo thing to try to mix things up again, bring in some more less standard fare into their publishing lineup. There's Sheriff of Babylon and a few other things.
Suiciders.
Suiciders, right. So what are your thoughts on this one? Why do we have it in our list here?
Yeah, and I mean, based on what I think it's supposed to be, it should be in one of our tops. I mean, I feel like we are completely the demographic for this book.
Right.
But it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Right, yeah.
I don't know what to think of it. I mean, there were a couple cool moments, but I don't understand how they correspond to each other at all.
Right.
You know, and the art's a little bit. Well, I can live with it.
Yeah, I mean it's the artist that did Tank Girl, so you're either gonna love that or hate it probably. I think it's cool. Like, man, this book is so scattershot, I think would be the way I put it. You know, it's nothing seems to quite follow with the next, and I know it's supposed to have this punk rock vibe to it, but I think we discussed when we did our review in the weekly review that, like, they keep talking about bands that used to be real and, you know, are now doing concept albums, and they're slick but trying to look punk rock. You know, they wear the punk rock clothes, but they're, you know, doing power ballads. And honestly, that's the way I feel about this book. Yeah. Like, it has all of it checks all of the boxes for being like a rough and tumble, weird punk indie comic kind of thing, but it just feels like some dudes in their 40s who used to be punks and now they still have a ponytail, you know, trying to put the band back together again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sold on it. It feels false. It doesn't ring true to me.
Fellow kids.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, kind of. Fellow punks, maybe. Fellow punks. You know, it just rings false to me. I want to give it one more issue to see if issue number 2 then ties all this stuff together and makes me understand what the fuck is happening.
Yeah, what the point of the comic
right
is.
You know, if we get some sort of theme or you know, just any sort of thematic element beyond, oh, they're punk rocks in London, you know, if we can get that, it still could hook me, but if number 2 doesn't sell me, I'm done.
Yeah,
cool.
Same boat.
All right, well, here you go. You can introduce this one.
Deadpool and Cable. And this is by Variant Edition, it looks like.
Yeah, I snagged the variant on this.
Fabian Nicieza and Riley Brown. And, yeah.
Yeah, and I gave you this one because you actually liked this one quite a bit. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about what you liked about it before I, you know, poo-poo on it too much.
Well, I mean, it's just been pretty consistent with what I've considered the better Deadpool stuff that's been coming out, like some of the Hossein stuff, and then, what was that one short series? The Return of the Living Deadpool, I think, the second one that came out like recently. I don't know. I mean, it's just, you know, you can't take it seriously by any means, but it's very just tongue-in-cheek and breaking the fourth wall and pop culture references and jokes about murdering people and stuff. And I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you like it or you don't.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, and I kind of fell on the other side of it. The jokes just didn't land for me. It just wasn't...
Carl Weathers, man.
Well, that's great. I mean, you know, that was funny.
Yeah.
But that was it. Like, I just didn't dig it. It just seems a little too, laugh out loud, I got a spork. It's funny because it's not a knife or a spoon or a fork.
It doesn't claim to be a knife.
Right. Well, I know. And that's part of the problem. There's also the issue for me that makes this worse in that I read, if we pull this up, I actually read this month as well, which is Kelly and McGinnis's Spider-Man and Deadpool. And it actually ended up being quite good.
Okay.
And so in comparison now, it's lessened my enjoyment of this one because it went more in that old school direction that these guys have gone with him before, and that I even felt like Nasicia, or whatever the hell his name is, went with the original Deadpool and Cable run, where he was a little less Daffy Duck and a little bit more damaged guy making jokes to cover up his insecurities. Whereas I feel like this is more the Daffy Duck.
The Daffy Duck. Yeah.
Which can be good, but it just depends on if those jokes land for you. You know, if you're in the mood to read a Daffy Duck comic, then it's pretty good. But
it is kind of a mood thing. You have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah.
But I would be up for checking out this one.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can definitely check that out, or we can maybe wait and when it hits trade, we can read it then, or we can pull that one up. We'll start at number 2. You can go back and read number 1 or something.
Or not. It's probably fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be fine.
Comic.
Yeah, you're probably right. But that one was
not much to do
that one was
chimichangas.
Yeah, exactly. That one was considerably better in my mind than this one, and I think a lot of people are going to look at these 2 books if they go into the comic shop in the next few weeks. They're going to go, I want a Deadpool and Somebody comic. Which one should I get? If that's the case, if you want really funny, goofy Deadpool, you might go with the Deadpool and Cable. But if you want a more nuanced story and a little bit more of the damaged Joker, go with the McGinnis and Kelly.
I'm sure that one's still funny though. I mean,
it is
Spider-Man and Deadpool.
It is funny. In fact, I would say the jokes were better in it as well. So I think it just hit on a lot more cylinders than this one did.
Okay.
So
maybe this one's more fuel efficient and it didn't need as many cylinders.
Yeah. It's a lean, mean comedy machine.
That's right.
So let's move on to the last one that we have. This is Scarlet Witch #1 by Robinson Del Rey and Belair. This is the same colorist that we had on The Vision.
Oh, cool.
I did not notice that until now. I really liked this one. This one was almost in my top 3, but it just fell flat for you, right?
Yeah, I just thought it was down.
Yeah. For me, I really liked just the characterization of Scarlet Witch and sort of the way the story was told. I liked the narrative style of it. And I liked the art, too. So talk a little bit about why this just didn't work for you.
It felt like this is going to be harsh, but like if you were to get a novel from like the grocery store about a witch, like what it would be like.
I can see that.
It's just all of this like mention of like the witch shit and, connecting it all together. And it's just a bunch of things that I don't care about. It's like every consecutive sentence made me care about it less than the one before it.
Sure.
So, I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, and I don't know that I have like necessarily an aversion to it, it just felt like so much, I was realizing cliches that I hadn't even necessarily associated as being cliches before. And the art I thought was kind of meh. I mean, the coloring is really cool, but the pencil work I think is a little bit sloppy.
It is sloppy. It's got a real sketchy, sloppy kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
I can totally see your criticisms there. That's part of what I enjoyed about it, was that I felt like it was kind of pulpy in that way.
Okay.
Kind of a dime store novel kind of storytelling, which, again, is the same as most of the things I've liked recently in the Marvel Universe. The fact that we have this kind of dime store novel, supernatural mystery happening in the Marvel Universe, I thought was interesting.
I feel like those are more clever takes on it than this one is.
Sure,
I mean,
I can see that.
It's just like that to a T, whereas Doctor Strange, I mean, we could talk for like hours about how Doctor Strange like breaks the mold of, even that paranormal shit. But
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. That's what I liked about it. I can totally see why you wouldn't like it. So.
And it was Robinson, so I wanted to like it. But,
right.
Yeah.
You going to be up for giving this one more issue?
We'll give it one more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Because you're so into it, yeah. I'll give it a shot.
Sounds good.
Awesome. I made you read Suicide Squad for like fucking ever.
Right.
So.
I think you can handle some Scarlet Witch for a little while.
Yeah.
That pretty much wraps it up for us.
It sure does.
You can check back with us on Wednesday, where we do something about this same length, actually. This might be a little bit longer than that. We try to keep it a little shorter, but we do this for every week with our poll list. There's usually like 3 to 6 titles, depending on the week. Seems like as we move on, we get more and more titles.
Yeah.
But we do have a couple that are leaving now, so that should clean us back up a little bit. We do that every Wednesday night or Thursday morning, depending on how good we are at getting it up and out. It usually ends up being Thursday morning.
Time zones, man. Come on.
Right. Obviously, because we're Australian. Right?
Right, yeah.
That's the thing.
We're so Australian it hurts.
Yeah. Mate. We also...
Shrimp after this.
Yeah. Don't you dare.
In Australia.
Don't drink some Foster's.
Which is outside my house.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the beach later. That's why we have these on. They're beach hoods. That's an Australian thing. You wouldn't know about it because you're not from Australia, but
yeah,
over here we wear hoods to the beach. So on Monday, next Monday, because this is Monday, but next Monday we have a review of Moon Knight. Mm-hmm. Grab that sucker. It's right there. It's Moon Knight Dead Will Rise. This is the second run of this series. It's like volume 2, I guess you could say, of the series from, is this 2 years ago, 1 year ago? About a year ago, right?
Yeah, about a year ago.
This came out relatively recently. And Ellis did the first run of this, and now this moves on to Wood and Smallwood.
Uh-huh. The Wood and the Smallwood. Bam, sucker.
And yeah, just as an interesting note, that's signed by Smallwood, because you know Smallwood, right? Do you think we could convince him to talk with us?
I don't know. We can ask him.
Okay. Well, next Monday, we're going to talk about this book, which we both actually really liked.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have heard a lot of people say you should read Moon Knight, you should read the Warren Ellis Moon Knight, but you don't hear much about this one. But from my experience, people that do read this one really end up enjoying it.
Yeah, so, I really enjoyed it. I was impressed with both Wood and Smallwood. You know, I'm not just saying that because I'm biased or whatever. Like it's pretty cool.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I don't know him at all, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Google image search like some pages out of here, and like it's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. It's really cool stuff, and it's one of those things that people overlook. A lot of people jump off a book when the big name creator leaves.
Right.
And so I know a lot of people said, "Oh, Warren Ellis is done," and they stopped, and they should not have, because I think it only got better as it went.
It's fucked up, people.
So we're going to right that wrong next Monday, so come back and check that out.
Yeah, justice and shit.
Other than that, you can like and subscribe, of course. We really love it when you do that because it makes us feel special.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't make any money off of this, so you don't have to worry about us, like, well, I don't know what they would worry about, but...
I don't know.
Yeah, and there's Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr down there. If you're into any of those, if you use those to keep up with things... like click on them and then do that. Right?
Press buttons.
Yeah.
Peace.